Hey Internet, it's me. Now, I know you're literate, so you already saw the title of the video. You know what I'm going to talk about. But I'm going to give a little spiel and pretend that you don't, because that's what people do on YouTube, and who am I to buck a trend? But today, I'm going to talk about a new video game that, if you've been on the internet at all, you've heard of. Palworld. It's gotten a lot of controversy because some people say it ripped off Pokemon, and other people say it was created by AI, and other people think it is the second coming of Satan. I don't know. There's a lot of controversy. I also realized looking at the viewfinder that I'm wearing a Pokemon shirt today, and that was actually not planned, just a little bit of fun irony. But yeah, so Palworld. I usually don't play games that are super popular with streamers because a lot of times it's games that were made for streaming. Things like Goat Simulator, where it's purposefully a bit buggy, a bit glitchy, a bit wonky, because that gets the best reactions for streamers. You know, it sets them up to overact and, oh my god, that happened! And then people engage with it because everyone on the internet has the intelligence of a 4-year-old. And now that I've insulted my audience, I don't generally play those types of games, but Palworld honestly looked interesting. Not because of the controversy, just the game itself looked interesting. And so I tried it. I've got about, I want to say 6 hours in so far. And right off the bat, the people that say that it's, you know, Pokemon with guns, or it's a Pokemon ripoff, or whatever, have you guys played the game? It's not any of those things. The game, let me do it this way. The game is Ark, or Rust, or Outward, or Raft, or any of those types of like crafting survival games. It's that, but also there's monsters you can capture. But that almost doesn't seem like the focus, honestly. Like it is, it's something that you do, you capture them, and there's different ones that'll serve different functions for you in your base, and you can battle them, but that's not what people are doing. They're capturing these creatures so that they can level up and learn how to craft new things and use those creatures to accomplish things at their base, to, you know, gather resources or to run machines. It's not at all like Pokemon. The focus isn't, I'm in this world full of creatures, let me collect as many as I can and train them up and bond with them and battle them against other trainers. Like, none of that exists here. This is a very, very different game from Pokemon. Also, when you are trying to capture one, the way you first do it is by attacking it yourself. You punch it, or you beat it with a wooden club, or you stab it with a spear, whatever, and you weaken it yourself through like just physical attacks, and then you capture it. Or you attack it too much and it just dies, and then you get experience that way. And when I say die, I don't mean like in Pokemon, where the monsters faint. In this game, they die, and you can harvest them for resources. Like, you can kill something to get leather or wool or whatever resource from it. So again, very different game from Pokemon. And then there is the one thing that everyone was freaking out about at first, guns. Just like a lot of crafting games, as you progress, you get better technology. So while you start the game naked, punching trees for wood, you unlock weapons, like a club and a spear and a shield, and then you get long-range weapons, like a bow, and then eventually you upgrade to a gun, and then a rocket launcher, and whatever the hell. So it's just the natural progression of a survival crafting sandbox game. Again, not at all like Pokemon. So, I guess my main point is, people comparing this game to Pokemon for any reason other than a couple of the monsters look similar is really dumb. Yes, there are some that look really similar. There's, and I forget what it's called, but there's one in Palworld that basically looks like an electric shaman. I get it. They're very similar design. I understand the issue there. I get why people say that. That one criticism is valid. There are a couple creatures in this game that look way too similar to creatures in Pokemon. I understand. But that should be the end of the complaints. Like, There's nothing else to complain about. They're two entirely different games for two entirely different audiences. Also, I will say that if Nintendo and the Pokemon Company wanted Pokemon to not be ripped off and one-upped all the time, maybe they could make a better game. And by that, I mean what I said, make a better game. When Violet and Scarlet came out, people were excited. We finally got an open world Pokemon. I know Legends Arceus, however you say it, was kind of open world, but that actually didn't feel like a normal Pokemon game. That felt like you were a Pokemon researcher. You were catching Pokemon in different ways, or battling them in different ways, or making them use different moves, or evolving them to unlock more information about them. You were a researcher first, a Pokemon trainer second. And honestly, that's something I really love about that game, that they actually took a new angle and changed up the formula for the first time in ever. Scarlet and Violet got rid of all that innovation and immediately went back to the same formula and just made the map a little bigger. But that was all they did. Like, you could theoretically do things out of order. I did a couple of the gyms out of order, but the only reason I could is because I just grinded the hell out of wild Pokemon and power leveled myself so that if I went to the fourth gym right after the first one, I was a high enough level to take it on. But then when I went back and did the second and third gyms, I was so ridiculously over leveled that I just didn't even have to think about it. I didn't have to use type advantages or anything. I just steamrolled the whole place. So it doesn't feel like it's open world. It still feels linear, because there's still a clear order that things should be done in. And if you go against that order, it's way too difficult at first and then way too easy after the fact. So they still haven't changed anything. They actually scaled back the amount of Pokemon in the game because they want to keep creating new ones, but they don't want to have to carry all the old ones forward. And, I mean, that's fine, but I don't know, like, once you set the precedent and then you break that precedent, people are going to have a negative reaction, and that is what happens. Also, I will say that I hate that they keep putting creatures in the games that aren't in the Pokedex. Like, if you're going to carry old Pokemon forward or reintroduce them through DLC or whatever, great, do that, but add them into that game's Pokedex. Because catching a Pokemon that is not in the Pokedex and having it in your bank but not having that record there it's really stupid and dumb for people that have OCD. Like, you expect everything to be there, and you expect it to show up, and it doesn't, and it bothers you, and you don't even want to have that Pokemon in the game anymore because it doesn't register like all the other ones. It feels different off. I'm on a tangent, doesn't matter. My point is, Pokemon does things wrong a lot, and they refuse to innovate, and they refuse to upgrade, and they can't make a decent game. And part of that is because they know, if we do what we've always done, it's going to keep selling, and it does. They're not wrong. And part of it is because Nintendo sucks at hardware and refuses to catch up to the other hardware manufacturers. Even now, they're teasing the Switch 2, which they really should have learned by the Wii U, that don't make consoles that are sequels. Just create a new console every time. That's stupid. But even that is supposed to be the hardware specs of roughly a PS4, a 10-year-old console. So, like, they're trying to lose the console wars by having, the least powerful thing out there. And because of that, people can't really innovate because, if they want to make a new game for a Nintendo console, they have to program basically to the standards of 10 years ago. If you make something for the Series X or the PS5 and then you want to put it on the Switch, you have to scrape away so many of your features and your performance, and you have to go bare bones because it just won't work on such an inferior console. And so because of all that, Pokemon, it's not great. Like, they're fun games. Even Scarlet and Violet, which I just said a bunch of crap about, are fun games. I enjoyed them. I played the hell out of them. I got the DLC, and I really enjoyed the added story. I had a blast with that game. I completed it. I got all the Pokedexes finished. I have all the DLC stories done, like everything. They're great. But, they don't feel any different from red and blue or gold and silver. There's a secondary and third, tertiary? No, just third. There's a third storyline, and you follow along all of them, and that's fun. But other than that, it's still the same thing. Like all the mechanics are the same. The rock paper scissors process is still the same. Like I said, it is still really kind of linear, even though they opened up the map. Like nothing's changed. Whereas with Palworld, because yes, I am actually gonna review that game in this video. That's just something entirely different. It has a monster capture mechanic in the game, but that's not the whole game. Like, there's so much other stuff going on. And honestly, I really enjoyed it. I like a lot of the crafting games anyway, I played Ark when it came out for a bit. I don't like that Ark turned into a really big multiplayer game, and I'm very much a single player offline. I just want to do stuff on my own. But I really enjoyed that one. I like the graphics. I like that it had dinosaurs. I thought it was really cool to have, the creatures to interact with. I want to say it was Grounded, the one where basically it's Honey Was Shrunk for Kids, the video game. That one looked really interesting. I didn't dive all the way into it, but it looked fun. I like those kinds of games. So Palworld appealed to me. And I started playing, and there's been footage in the background the whole time, so you can see what's happening. But it's been a lot of fun. Like I said, you start out, you punch a tree, you get wood, you make a crafting table. From there, you can make tools, like, a pickaxe or just a regular axe, so you can chop down trees faster, and you can mine rocks and ore faster. And then you craft your Pokeballs, so you can catch creatures. Probably shouldn't call them Pokeballs, considering the whole lawsuit, but whatever. But basically, it follows the same progression as you would in any crafting game. It just adds the monsters in as an extra mechanic, and it changes stuff up a lot. Because now you're not just crafting, you're also trying to form your little army of creatures, because they'll do things at your base. While you're not there, they'll cut down trees, or break up rocks, and harvest those materials for you. Eventually, you'll plant a little farm, and you'll plant berries in it. They will both seed the farm, water it, and then when everything's done growing, they'll harvest the berries for you. So now you have a constant supply of food that you don't even have to maintain. You can just go to a chest and pick up some of the berries as you need them going forward. So it's an interesting mechanic because certain creatures can only do certain tasks. So you actually have to be a little critical and a little logical about, okay, which ones do I need to capture more of because they'll help me at my base. So you do that on top of your regular crafting, and then, like I said, with any crafting game, there's a progression to it. As you craft some things, it lets you do more, and then those more things you do, you can utilize to get better materials or more materials and craft better things. So you get to keep upgrading your base. At first you put a single platform on the ground with a couple walls and a roof, and you put a bed in there. But eventually, you'll build like a whole house with a bed in it, and you'll, surround your base with sandbags, and you'll create traps, and you'll do all these things so that when your base is raided by an organized group of enemy monsters, you'll be able to defend yourself. Your monsters won't all die fighting those monsters. They'll be able to hide behind these things. The enemies will get caught in the traps, stuff like that. It's great. And honestly, like I said, I really like it. I think it's the best of both worlds. I like all the regular, crafting sandbox mechanics, but I like they added the monster capturing element to it as well. It feels like a crossover game, and I generally really like those. I like when people try something new or try to combine genres to do something interesting. It's like Romancylvania, which I promoted the hell out of that game, and they still have not delivered my physical editions, so that might have just been a $300 scam for me. But, they created a Metroidvania that's also a visual novel dating sim, and they put them together. That's a really cool concept. That's why I supported it. That's why I'd like it if I got my physical editions, maybe ever. And if I do, by the way, I said online that I would give one away if the thing got funded, and it did get funded, and theoretically I'm getting games at some point. if and when those come in, I'm not a liar, I will still give a copy away to somebody. So maybe eventually video on that. But back on topic, Hyrule Warriors is another crossover that I absolutely freaking love. It's Zelda and also Dynasty Warriors. So it's your regular, action adventure Zelda game mixed with like the massive just enemy murdering Musou games. You put those together, it's the best thing on the Wii U by far. So I love those types of things. So crafting plus monster capture it's perfect for me. It's really good game mechanics. It's a different gameplay loop than what you're used to with these types of games. And it's just a lot of fun. So honestly, I think that's the moral of the story here, is that all the controversy aside, and it shouldn't be controversy because most of it's just nonsense, it's a really fun game. And if you just want to play something cool and interesting, I recommend it. I've really been enjoying it. Usually when I play something to review for a video, if it's mediocre or less, I don't stick with it longer than it takes to do a review. Midnight Suns, I played that for a review. I played like the first hour, and then I played the rest of the game to completion because it was amazing. But there's been other games where I've played them to talk about them, and then I kind of stopped playing after that because they just weren't that good. But Palworld is definitely one that I'm going to keep playing after this video goes up because I'm just really having a good time with it. I look forward to trying to fill out the entire Pale deck. And I want to see how many more things I can unlock for my base. I know there's like a breeding element in here where, you can breed 2 of your Pales and then they can like learn new attributes or they'll have higher skills or whatever. I haven't even unlocked that ability yet, so that's something cool that I want to get into. I have not gone far enough to actually get guns in the game, so I'm still attacking Pales with spears and whatnot, so that'll be a nice upgrade I want to get. So I'm definitely going to stick with it. I think it's a lot of fun. I think a lot of the controversy is unfounded and it's probably just going to blow over. And I think it's absolutely working in the developer's favor because the game has absolutely exploded in popularity. So, maybe at the end of the day, this was a marketing ploy. Maybe they purposefully made a few creatures look just similar enough to where there would be accusations and they could make money off the attention. I don't know. But that's the effect it's having. So good on them. And yeah, that's where I'm going to stop rambling. Go play the game. It's really good. That's all I got. Bye.